I was born with a curse. I felt the evil inside me from the moment I realized I existed in this world. At the age of 5, I stabbed my brother's thigh with a screwdriver, and would have killed him too had it not been for my grandma stopping me just as I was about to drive the long cold metal right through his eyes. In school, at first grade, I hit a girl with a broom, knocking her out cold, and thought about raping her with a broomstick, but the risk of getting caught was too high. I got away with dozens of evil shits I did to boys because I'm a girl. All I had to do for the most part was to cry, say the boy bullied me, and that I had no choice but to fight back. The end result was always the same. The boy gets reprimanded, my parents got an apology from the school and the boy's parents, and the teachers were eager to protect me. It was much the same when I grew older. In junior high, I had consensual sex with a boy that got me horny every time he looked at me. We started going out. I became abusive toward him. He left me and I had him sent to a juvenile correctional facility with a false rape charge. It works. It always works. But assuming that a few conditions are met. First, you need to be pretty. No one has sympathies for fat, ugly bitches. 2. You need to keep up with good grades. If you are trying to look like a goody two-shoes, then it works better when your grades mirror the image. 3rd, keep your evil shit private. As much as you want to thrust a blade through that ugly bitch you call your best friend, you gotta keep appearances. To which brings us to the final and 4th condition, a fitting friend to a goody two-shoes. Well-mannered, nice, dumb bitches for a best friend is a must to build that aura of kindness around you. Plus, ugly dumb bitches are grateful when someone pretty like me befriend them, and they stay loyal for as long as you give them some attention. Think dogs and you get the idea. The person that I described so far was me only until a few years ago. But somehow and for some reason, I've learned to cage that evil in me and lock it away somewhere deep inside where it no longer can influence me to harm anyone else in my life. I've stopped hurting others at the age of 22, but there are already so many whom I've hurt prior to my transformation. I have to live with the guilt every day, but I suppose my life is still better than those whom I've hurt so deeply. I was born in Hokkaido in the late 1980s. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. I've got an older brother and a sister who I haven't seen in the last 5 years. I miss them. I can now genuinely say that, but I keep my distance from them to keep them safe from me. Then again, they probably wouldn't agree to see me even if I begged them. Not after what I put them through for all those years. I was a very well-kept secret of my family. Every member of my immediate family knew I was either crazy or possessed, but my mom and dad were not about to ruin the image of a perfect family. A doctor for a mother, a corporate lawyer for a father, and their 3 children who are excellent students. We were the envy of our town. Besides, I had learned early on that even as a child, you don't get an easy pass for doing the shits I used to do at home, like stabbing my brother in the thigh or nearly killing my sister with a swift swing of a gigantic frying pan. I once set a neighbor girl's hair on fire and got slapped around pretty badly by her mother. It was a good lesson which taught me to be discreet, and I rarely made the same mistake again. There were times when I couldn't help myself and did some things to put me in some serious troubles. But my grandpa, being the 3rd largest shareholder of one of Japan's biggest corporations, we had and still have some serious political connections, which grants us an immunity status of sorts. Short of murder, no member of my family would ever see significant jail time for any crime you can imagine. Try to picture someone with the willingness to do some truly evil things, and just think how dangerous that person would be if he or she possessed an endless number of get-out-of-jail-free cards. That's who I was until March 15, 2000 something, on my 22nd birthday. It was the first day I felt guilt, the first day I knew shame, and the first day I was able to lock away the demon inside of me. I don't know how or why it happened, but I woke up that morning and began crying. The endless rush of guilt and repentance was overwhelming. I couldn't stop crying, and I could feel the demon inside of me disgusted at my discovery of humanity. There are still times when I get the urge to cut off my boyfriend's penis or pluck out the eyeballs of my best friend. But now I'm able to control that anger until it subsides completely. Since then, I wanted to think that I didn't pose danger to those around me. But it still lingers, it's still in there, and it gets angrier by the day. I went to bed last night, but only to wake up 3 hours later holding a kitchen knife in my hand and standing by the bedside next to my boyfriend. I don't know what might have happened had I woken up even a minute later. I am now terrified of myself. I called in sick to work today, and now I'm in a train headed to Hokkaido from Tokyo. I want to go home to mom, but I won't be staying the night there. Not after what happened last night. I see only one way to protect the people I love, and that is to end my life before I hurt anyone else. I'm going to see my mom, I'm going to have a meal with her, then I'm going to put an end to this. This is the last thing I live on this earth, and I'm glad it's not something that will harm anyone. I go out in peace. I used to get bruised a lot when I was a kid. No, it wasn't that I was more clumsy than the average child, but I would always get them overnight while I'm asleep. I would grumble to mom about the bruises, and she would tell me that I used to toss and turn a lot even as a baby, so she'd tell me that she wasn't surprised. I thought she was probably right, since every morning when I wake up, the sheets are always undone, the pillow is usually on the floor, and I find myself waking up in an odd angle. Not only that, every now and then, I'd also get rashes, really red and nasty ones that sting, and I normally get them around my neck and shoulder. I always assumed I got them because of my erratic sleeping behavior. I thought maybe because I move so much while asleep, and also because I sleep naked, it was probably due to the friction against the sheet. But just because you accept a certain explanation, it doesn't mean the problem doesn't have negative consequences. My whole life, I would always wake up tired. Forget the bruises and the rashes. The truly difficult thing about my erratic sleeping behavior was how I could never get a good night's sleep. In school, getting punished for nodding off was a daily affair. One thing that I could never explain was, though, how sometimes I get bruises and rashes even when I would fall asleep in school. I'm seated in a chair and I'm just nodding off. It's not like I'm sleepwalking in the classroom, but even that, I would tell myself that the bruises were most likely from the previous night, which I hadn't noticed, and the rashes were most likely some type of allergic reaction. That's what you do when you can't explain something. You just try to reason with yourself. This one night, I was walking my usual route to home from the after-school classes. I always walk home with Sunmi, my best friend, but on that day, I walked alone because Sunmi had skipped school due to a family obligation, and she couldn't attend the after-school classes either. The time was close to 10 p.m. and the streets were somewhat empty. I was almost home. I had maybe another 5 minutes of walk at most when I saw an elderly woman struggling to walk and carry 2 medium-sized bags. I passed her by initially, even though I felt a little guilty for not helping her. I was tired and hungry. I just wanted to go home. I probably didn't even take more than 10 steps after passing her by. The guilt in me forced me to turn around and go help the old lady. I jogged right next to her and asked, "Lady, can I help you with the bags?" And she answered, "I wish I could oblige, but I live too far from here to ask for your help. It's quite okay. You can go home. It's already very late for a young girl like you to be out." Still, I insisted. "Let me help you at least a little bit. I may not be able to help you carry the bags the whole way, but I'm sure you could use a little breather." The old lady obliged, and I ended up walking her all the way to her destination. It was a 20-minute walk, but only because the bags were so heavy. Without carrying something as burdensome, I'd say I could make the trip in less than 15 minutes. When we arrived at her home, she told me to wait outside for a minute, then she went into her house and returned with a cold bottled water. She passed me the water and told me to have a drink before I left. I did, and I was about to say goodbye when she laid a yellow piece of paper on my left hand and said, "Take this and place it under your pillow before you go to sleep tonight." Curious, I asked her what it was, and she said, "It's a paper talisman. This one I've made to promote one's health. I know you young people don't believe in these things, but I don't have anything else to offer for your graciousness, and I feel terrible if I didn't give you anything." I didn't want to seem unappreciative, plus the old lady was really sweet. So I thanked her for the paper talisman and the water, then walked straight home right after. When I arrived home, as soon as I opened the door, Mom scolded me for coming home late. But I explained to her about the old lady, and she couldn't stay mad for long. I went into my room and was reminded of the paper talisman the moment I saw my pillow. As opposed to what the old lady assumed, I actually do believe in spirituality. Generally speaking, I'm more inclined to believe in the things that most people would instantly conclude superstitious. I went back to the bathroom to get my school uniform, which I took off when I took a shower. I had folded the paper talisman and placed it in my shirt pocket. I got worried when I went to the bathroom because I couldn't find the shirt. I ran to the laundry room, worried that my mom might have washed the uniform. Fortunately, it was still in the laundry basket. I removed the paper talisman and returned to my room. That night, before going to bed, I unfolded the paper talisman and laid it under my pillow. When I woke up the next morning, I felt invigorated and perky. I told myself, you do good deeds and the universe will return the favor. I felt as though the positive energy of the old lady must have rubbed off on me. From that day on, my life had changed entirely. I no longer nodded off in classes. I was getting good grades, and most of all, I was getting along with people so much better. It's not that I was shy or nasty to people before that, but I never smiled much or mingled with people because I was always tired and in pain. My best friend saw the change in me, and she would mention it time to time about how happy she was for me and how proud she was of me helping out that old lady. My mom was jubilant as well, especially because of my improved grades at school. She had a practical explanation for the turnaround. She told me it was the change in my attitude toward everything that brought about all the wonderful things in my life. 3 months had passed like that. Every day was great and I was loving my life. Until one day I woke up and was feeling just like the old me, tired and sore. I immediately looked under my pillow and the paper talisman was gone. I would always take it with me to school in the morning, mainly out of fear that Mom would throw it out. The day before I had forgotten to take it, and it was no longer where I left it. I ran into the kitchen where Mom was cooking breakfast and screamed, "Mom, where's my paper talisman? What did you do with that?" Mom was shocked to see me so angry and panicked. She said, "I threw it out. It was all worn off and would have been shredded in a few days anyways." "Sweetheart, it's not the talisman. It's you who brought about the change." I was so pissed that I didn't even look at her after that. I took a quick shower, ignored her plea to have breakfast, and left the house for school. I was looking forward to an amazing summer vacation in just 2 days, and something like this happens. I went to school and tried to put on a brave face, but it didn't last long, and I went back to being the old grumpy me again. A week into summer vacation, I was still feeling horrible, just the way I used to feel before the paper talisman. I couldn't take it anymore, not after experiencing what life is like when you are able to have a good night's sleep. I woke up one morning and walked straight to the old lady's house. I rang the bell and fortunately she was home. She invited me in and offered me a hot ginseng tea. I sat down and got right to business. I explained to her what had happened after the night she gave me the paper talisman and how I had lost it. I asked her if she could make me another one and she happily said yes. But this time, I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to know why it worked on me and why I needed it. She grabbed one of my hands and gently cupped it in between both her hands as she spoke. Some people in this world are born with the natural ability to see and communicate with the spirits of the afterlife. This ability is very pronounced in some of these people, but more subtle in others. A perfect example is you and I. I've lived alone all my life ever since my parents had passed away at a young age. Not because I wanted my life to be that way, but because I'm not fated to have a normal life. I can channel the spirits, and naturally people like me attracts all kinds of different spirits. Just like people, some are nice and some not so much. You, my dear, have the same ability as I, but in a much less meaningful way. That's a good thing and you should be happy for it. It means you don't have to live like me. You can still have a normal life as long as you can repel the spirits that weigh you down, literally. That night, when I saw you walk by me, I saw many malignant spirits latching onto you like leeches. Some of those spirits may have perished under strenuous conditions, and they are not able to let go of this world, so they hold on to the living with the ability to channel their anger and resentment. Then those negative energy are passed right onto your physical being. I'm old and frail now. There's no saying how long I can continue writing this paper talisman for you. I'll make you one tonight, and if you return after a week, I'll give you enough to last you a lifetime as long as you keep them safely. She then wrote down an address and said, "This is the address of my niece in Suwon. She was born with the same abilities that I possess, and she'll be able to help you if anything happens to the paper talisman after I'm gone." She paused for a second to take off the ring in her finger and continued to speak. "Show this ring to her when you go see her, and she'll know I sent you." And that was it. She gave me a long hug, caressed my cheek with a loving smile on her face, and showed me out of her house. I have been living happily ever since and couldn't ask more out of life. I keep half of the extra paper talismans she's given me in a secure safe, and the other half is stored in a safety deposit box in a bank. Even though my life today is as normal as anyone else's, it still sends chills down my spine when I imagine the spirits returning if anything would happen to my talismans. The thought of those malicious spirits scratching and striking me while I'm asleep is truly nightmare-inducing. So after all, my life isn't as normal as I like to believe. I am now 24 years old. I've got a job, friends who are dear to me, a family that I love, and a boyfriend who has recently proposed to me. I couldn't say yes to him out of fear of having a child like me. If the old lady's niece was born with the same ability, it probably means the gift runs in the family. As much as I love my boyfriend, and as much as I'd love to be married, I cannot risk putting my offspring under the same circumstances as mine. It is sad to know that I'll grow old, alone, and lonely, starting at some point in my life. But until then, I plan to live my life as fully and as purposeful to the best of my abilities. Please, everyone, when times are difficult, try to remember that there are people like me out there who, even with their conditions, they still appreciate their lives. So go out there and live. Enjoy your lives. Goodbye. Hello everyone, Dennis here. Oh god, my name so doesn't represent someone who'd run a channel like mine. Who would expect the name Dennis for a Mr. Creepy Master? Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. I hope you guys enjoyed the two stories in the video, and I know I always say that, but it matters and it's important to me because when you stop enjoying these translated stories, it means that I'm choosing the wrong ones, so hopefully it was good for you as it was for me. So today was my first day at my new job after a long break, and all was great for a first day. Dinner was quite busy considering it's the Monday. The kitchen ran fairly well considering it's my first day. There was a kerfuffle in the dining hall. This filthy rich customer felt as though our service was substandard even though everyone else seemed to be having a wonderful time. But anyways, I went out and tickled his ass a little and he went on feeling like a boss. No one got fired and no one's ego got hurt too badly, so it's all good. Lastly, I do apologize if I sound less than 100%. I have spring and summer allergies, and when they are bad, I really suffer. Right now, it's not so great. That reminds me, there was this guy who I'd never seen on my channel before, and he left a comment. He said I sounded like I was choking on a bag of male genitals, and that he hated my channel. I told him very politely that he should avoid all my videos since I'm not really shoving them down his throat. Then he got angry and threw some F-bombs at my way, and that was that. What I found funny about that, it was almost like you asking someone out for a date and that person says no, you tell them that's fine and that should be the end of it, right? But that person turns around and screams at you, fuck you, and fuck you. But the whole point is, right now I do sound like I'm choking on a bag of dicks. I don't know exactly how one might sound when they are choking on male genitals, but I'd imagine it would sound something similar to how I sound right now. This is a terrible way to end a scary video, and that is exactly the reason why I shouldn't do the outro on the fly. Lesson learned. Alright guys, I'm sorry. Alright guys, I do apologize for the craptastic outro. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe. I'm going to end this outro now, otherwise it will never end. Goodbye everyone. See you soon. Bye bye.